Tendo here, and with me I've got Hannah and a hamster ball. And today we are wrapping up our thrifting trip. Thank you so much to everyone who has hung with us through the whole thing. We do something very specific on this channel, and we changed it up big time when we went on the road and stopped at Goodwills and other thrift stores and other Goodwill bins all across the country. Today we stopped at a few thrift stores on different sides of the country as we drove straight home from Kentucky all the way to Phoenix, really without stopping anywhere but gas stations and thrift stores. We bought a bunch of stuff along the way, and we think we did all right on this one. So check this out. I hope you guys are ready for a wild adventure, because that's what this was. We stopped at a handful of thrift stores all across the country. What you're about to see was actually about 30 hours without any sleep. It may look like a quick adventure at a few stops, but it wasn't. There was a lot of driving in between each stop. So this first stop is in Nashville right before we left, and I want you to look at how big this is. This is a really large Goodwill. There's more space inside of this Goodwill than the Nashville bins has. Kind of makes me wonder why they don't set the Goodwill bins up over here. It'd be a lot more comfortable place. Probably because the back end, the receiving dock area and stuff, doesn't have as much infrastructure as the Goodwill bins does. So I know the answer to that question, but it is just astoundingly roomy in here. This is more floor space than any Goodwill in my hometown of Phoenix. So interesting. But we're looking for video games, so I'm going straight to the back where I see some books. That's usually a good sign that there's some DVDs tucked in there, which is usually a good sign that a few video games are stuck in there as well, if there's not outright a video game section. Which right off the bat, it doesn't much look like there is. There's just kind of that normal shelf that you're used to seeing piled up with DVDs. And I do see an Xbox 360 case right off the bat, Chronicles of Narnia. I've already got that, though. There's a mess of CDs there, which is a bummer, because we're in a hurry. We've got to get home before Hannah has to be back to work, and we're just in a bit of a hurry. So I am going to, as fast as I can, look through all these DVDs, make sure there's no video games, and maybe I'll take a peek at those CDs and make sure there's no PlayStation 1s in there. But were I back home in Phoenix on a leisure thrifting trip, I would stand here and go through everything here, CDs and DVDs included, one by one. Not going to be able to do that today. I got to get in and out of here in like 10 minutes. I'm just seeing a bunch of leftover stuff. If this place has any good video games ever, someone's already been here and picked over them and just left me the sports stuff. So I'm going to make sure there's nothing that I don't have, and I'm going to buy the stuff I don't have, because it looks like this place is just charging for games, whatever they charge for DVDs, so it's like 50 cents a piece or something. So there's no reason not to buy those sports titles that I'm missing from my collection here. So I'm going to buy at least this football game I've got in my hand. And real quick, let's take a look through the CDs and see if there's any PlayStation stuff. Look at this just monstrosity mountain of CDs. It would be a nightmare if I did have to stand here and go through every one of them. But I'm not seeing anything, so let's move on. I did take a quick lap around the rest of the store, and there was not a lot of rhyme or reason to how this stuff was organized. You know, as messy as this is right now, it probably isn't this messy. You know, the weekend's over, and the weekend's usually their biggest shopping day, and I bet you they have Monday employees that come in just to reorganize this place, because if it's anything like back home in Phoenix, thrift stores get destroyed on weekends. It's a pretty regular thing. I looked through everything. I didn't see much. Neither did Hannah. Hannah's leaving with nothing. I'm just leaving with a couple of games. That was interesting, because that was probably the first time I ever had someone checking me out at a Goodwill that physically check the games themselves. I get asked all the time, hey, did you check these discs? They don't want anybody complaining and making returns, which I understand, but that lady stood there and opened up all these games, checked behind the manuals. So that was interesting. All right, first stop. We didn't even make it outside of Nashville, and we spotted a Goodwill. We went in there. It wasn't terribly good. It was not very well organized, and there were a couple games tucked in with the DVDs, but nothing great. But I did buy a couple games, but that's okay, because this is just the start of the day. Let's keep going down the road, and maybe we'll find something else. We're several miles down the road now. We've had lunch, and as we're driving, we look over, and there's a Goodwill on the side of the road. This was right off the highway. We literally hit the next exit, and there we were. I always love that. I love a thrift store that's right off the highway. How do you like finding Goodwills just as you're driving along?
Surprise, Goodwill!
I'm very interested to see how this goes, because this Goodwill is in the same state as the last Goodwill, but it is quite a ways over. So it's going to be interesting to see if they organize everything the exact same or if it's wildly different. You just never know what's going to be the same or different, and I always like observing those differences. But there are some DVDs right inside the door, right by the cash register, and I'm going to go through all these. There's definitely some games in here, and I'm not seeing anything great, but there are a couple things here I don't have that I'm going to go ahead and grab, like this Aqua Aqua game. No idea what this is. Comment below if you do know, but I'm going to buy it. And then Michael Jackson for the Kinect. I've already got that. Rock Band 3. I've already got almost all the Rock Band games. This MLB game I've got. There's a lot of sports stuff in here, which means this is probably a lot like that last stop. Someone's already been in here and picked over the good stuff. Kung Fu Panda, Kinect, NHL. There's some DVDs in there. A NASCAR game. Some of these I don't know if I have or not, but the prices on these aren't really great. This is back in the middle of the store, and it's kind of like that last stop as well, where like there's just CDs, just a heck ton of CDs. And again, we're in a hurry, so I'm not going to be able to go through every one of these, but I am going to skim them as fast as I can while Hannah's looking for clothes and see if there's not anything in here I need. There were some other strategies of organization in this Goodwill that I've never seen. These bins here, just full of books. I found that very interesting. I've definitely never seen that. I have seen these same size shaped bins implemented at Goodwill bins. Go check out my playlist on my channel of Goodwill bins, where we go and explore all kinds of Goodwill bins. And you'll see that some of the stops use these same bins to put stuff on the walls for you to dig through. But I've never seen this in a regular Goodwill. So I wonder if they do that just to prepare it to go straight to the Goodwill bins. Maybe once these books are picked over, they send it to the bins and they're already organized to go on the shelves there. I don't know. But there's a bunch of VHS here. You can see a couple video games down there at the bottom, but they were just like Dance Dance Revolution. It's looking to me like all the video games in this Goodwill were up front, which is usually, as I pointed out before, a sign of theft. People like to be clever and go back to the game section sometimes in a Goodwill, put the discs in their pocket, leave the cases there, and just walk out the front door. And whenever Goodwill discovers that this is happening, they usually just take all the video games and put them in a lockbox or put them by the front door where they can watch them. All right, what town is this? Jackson, Tennessee. So we're a good little bit outside of Nashville, and sure enough, just right on the side of the highway. I mean, uncomfortably close. A big Goodwill sign, and the exit was right after the sign, so I just took it off and I whipped in there. And that one was a little bit better than the last one.
Still super disorganized, though.
Still not quite as meticulously organized as the Goodwills back in Phoenix that we're used to. But I found a GameCube game, so I'm not complaining whatsoever. And I got a watch. You read it?
Yeah.
Whenever you're curious what time it is, just ask me. I'll tell you. This next stop is so far away from that last stop, I can't even begin to tell you how far. Like 1,000 miles. Like 1,000 miles difference. And it's tiny. Just look how small this place is. Look at all these handwritten signs on the door. These things actually excite me. I love these tiny little thrift stores because I always say you'll never know what you're going to find when you walk into a Goodwill or a big chain of thrift store, but you really extra super duper don't know what you're going to find when you walk into these little mom and pop stores. And luckily, as soon as I walked in, I spotted a shelf of VHS tapes that had a few video games. I think there were actually more video games here than DVDs. Strange, right? That's exactly what I'm talking about when I say you really super duper extra don't know what you're going to find. And not only would you not expect a mom and pop like this to have more video games than DVDs, you would not expect them to have that sports game that I just picked up. It's the last NCAA basketball game they made, which makes it really valuable. It's worth $30 conservatively. And Hannah is over here just loading up. You love to see it when Hannah leaves a thrift store with a handful of clothes. She's finding some jeans that we sell quite a bit. We do resell clothes. It's really how we pay for a lot of this. If you're interested in that kind of thing, there are always links below all of our videos to where we sell clothing. I'm not really trying to get any of you to buy any of it. It's a very specific kind of clothing that for sure not everyone's into. But if you're interested in reselling and you're just interested in what we do, you can go check out those links. But Hannah has an armful of clothes, and she has spotted the shoes now. And look, I found the DVDs. I was wrong about this store having way more games than DVDs. The DVDs just happen to be hidden behind a rack of clothes because there's just not enough room in this store to do anything else with them. So I double-checked all of these to make sure there wasn't anything in there that I needed. there wasn't. But Hannah's killing it right now, which is good because that makes up for the last couple stops. She didn't really get much at those. We're pretty close to home at this point, another 3 or 4 hours. So we're really feeling it. We really want to get home to our own bed to lay down, and Hannah wants to get home to our cat, and she misses the cat so much. All she's done all week is said, tell Patrick to send me pictures of Pants. I want to see Pants. Yes, our cat's name is Pants. It's a real thing. We call our cat Pants. Hannah has found a pair of sandals that are worth quite a bit of money, and she's going to get those for sure. And then I rechecked the section that had the video games and noticed there was a stack of loose discs, and they all happened to be video games, but they were all stuff I either had or didn't really care to buy without the case. So at least I checked them, but there was nothing special there. And overall, this was a very cool thrift store. I'm glad that we stopped. We'll definitely have to stop here again on our way back through. So that was probably the mommiest, poppiest store I've ever been in my life. It was one lady and her 2 sons running it, and it was smaller than our bedroom, but they had some good stuff. You bought a bunch, didn't you?
I did. I cleaned house.
I had a little bit of a misunderstanding. I grabbed all the video games they had, including a game that was worth about $30, and I was like, how much are these? And she said $25, and I was standing pretty close to her. I was like, okay, great. This is going to be the deal of the day for sure. And then when we went to ring up, she was like, these are $2 a piece. I guess she didn't realize they were video games when I had them. Fair play, not mad about it. I'm not going to haggle that, especially since one of them's so valuable. I'm not going to waste my breath. But she was like, they have been here for a very long time. I don't really sell video games very well. You can have them for $1. And I was like, great, nice. Thanks for meeting me in the middle. And that was kind of interesting to me because I've long told Hannah I really think we need to get out on the road and hit these mom and pop stores because I think we're going to find a lot of that way out here. I mean, we're 200 miles away from Phoenix, 100 miles away from Tucson, Arizona. We're in the middle of nowhere. And I think those stores don't have a regular video game hunter frequenting them. They don't have a regular thrift clothes reseller hunting them. So I think we need to get out on the road. I think we need to get out on the road in our van and visit these places no one else is. And I think I'm going to build a heck of a collection, and we're going to do really well selling clothes. Comment below. Should we get in the van and go do another trip like this one you guys have been watching for the last week and only hit mom and pops on the way? I think we should, personally.
Be fun.
All right, but what did you find in that one?
Well, the thing I was most excited about was a pair of Doc Martens sandals.
Is that what those were?
Yeah.
Wow.
So they're pretty pricey sandals when they were new, but of course they're from the 90s. I seriously had the same pair in the 90s. But they're really popular right now with the clientele that I sell to, and I think we'll get our money worth out of it. Only $1.
Okay, but I'm doing the math. If you were born in 92, so like best case scenario, you had them when you were 8?
Yeah.
You had a pair of Doc Marten sandals when you were 8?
Probably not Doc Martens, but they were the...
Oh, the jabronis. You had the jabronis, I got you. Next up is another little mom and pop shop tucked neatly off of the highway, and we actually got here right when they were supposed to be open. I mean, on the minute, but they still weren't open, so we just kind of hung out outside for a minute, and then a couple ladies came up and jumped out of their minivan and said, sorry, we're late, we'll let you in. And so we walked into this store the moment it opened, and there's some clothes here, so Hannah's going to take a look at those, and I'm going to go try to find some DVDs, some video games, something. There was some video game controllers here, but they were pretty rough. And there was this bin of magazines on the floor that I took immediate interest in. I've seen these before. They're kind of a science fiction magazine, and I always get the itch to buy these kinds of things, but it's like I don't have room for more magazines. I'm not going to buy these, but they are cool to see. Comment below if you're into these magazines or if you remember them from way back in the day. I dug through the rest of the bin just to make sure there wasn't any, Game Informer or heaven forbid, a Nintendo Power. Here's that controller I was talking about. It's pretty rough, and it has a pretty high price tag on it, so I'm not going to worry about that. The rest of the store is just kind of home goods. There's a ceiling fan on the floor. I didn't notice that when I was actually there. And here is where, if there are video games, I'm pretty sure there would be. There's VHS tapes and a couple DVDs down there, and a rack full of CDs. We'll give those a quick look over. Once again, make sure there's no PlayStation 1 games in there. But my feeble eyes don't see any, so let's keep looking around. I don't even know what's in these drawers. I probably should have opened them to check, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be video games. After a few laps around the store, I did spot this copy of Hogan's Alley, and it has a $12 sticker on it, and I'm pretty sure that's a little high. So I stood here and looked it up on my phone, and as I was looking it up, the lady came by, and she really wanted me to buy that game. So we had a interesting exchange, and basically at the end of the day, I'm going to get the game for $5. And then I asked the lady if they had any more video games, and she took me back over to where the DVDs and VHS were and said, yeah, they're here, and I didn't find any. All I found was a PSP UMD disc that I already have. So I'm not going to leave with anything else besides that NES game, but I'm happy to leave with it. So that little store was interesting. It was kind of like in a little Western village type thing. I don't know.
It was cute.
Yeah, they didn't have a lot. I found one NES game, and it was priced exactly what it should have been-ish. It had a $12 price tag on it. I looked it up, and it was selling for $5 or $6. And the lady came by, I was like, you know, that's worth a lot, but I'll sell it to you for $5. I was like, okay. Of course, she even said it was a special edition. I'm not really sure what she was talking about. I looked it up. There didn't seem to be anything special about it. It was just, it had sold in the last 24 hours for $5 on eBay. So I went ahead and paid full price for it. That's fine, no complaints. I asked while we were at the cash register if there were any video games or DVDs that I'm missing. Sometimes people don't know the difference between DVDs and video games, so DVDs will get you there. And it's always important to ask. If you're in a thrift store and you don't see what you're looking for, ask. Sometimes they'll know where it's at and it'll be hidden, and sometimes, of course, they'll have some in the back and maybe let you get a sneak peek at something they were just about to put out. So I asked, and she led me backward to the VHSs I'd already looked at and said there's some DVDs down there. And the only other thing close to being game related that I saw was a PSP UMD disc for a movie I already have. So I just left with the NES game. You didn't buy anything, did you?
I didn't.
Nothing. No. Nada. Here comes the last stop of the day. It's a St. Vincent de Paul, and there's a lot to unpack here. This was one of the most interesting stops on the entire trip. This was such an interesting store. I wish I could have gotten permission to bring big cameras in here and film, because this place is just a snapshot of, I don't know what to say. It's almost like a snapshot of a thrift store from 1992, it felt like. It was just very interesting. Not enough space for the amount of stuff they had in there, which is good. I love a thrift store with a lot of stuff, but it was just wild. There were some Lego Dimension games in box, complete, sealed, and maybe they must have had a Portal in those boxes with them because they were $12. But that was my first sign of video games, so I was like, oh, what if that's it? There also was a sealed PlayStation 1 game inside of that lockbox that I was very keen to get the lady working to let me look at. There was a stack of PC games on top of the same lockbox, and I'm still just in my head going, oh man, what if this is it? What if this is it? What if this is all I'm going to see? And I dug through all of these, and there was not really anything that wasn't PC. So I'm not looking for PC games. If you've watched my channel at all, you know, like, out of the 2,000 games I own, I've only ever bought like 2 PC games, and they were just copies of my favorite Xbox 360 games, really, that had been made for PC. But I ended up digging through every bit of this and then moving on, and I found this stack of games on a shelf behind the register. And I was like, that's it. That's what I want. So I stood at this register for what seemed like an hour, waiting for the lady in front of me to get done checking out so I could ask the lady behind the cash register if I could look at those games. And when I did, she said, no, you can't see those. I haven't priced them yet. And I was like, oh, man, what if this is it? What if this is all the games they have and she's not going to let me look at them? I was like, oh, well, okay. I guess let me have this game here. And it was, as I said earlier, a sealed PlayStation 1 game. It had $5 on it, which I guess I'm going to go ahead and pay because it's sealed, and that's just kind of fun. And it took me a little bit to find where the rest of the games were. And during my looking for them, I was pretty sure that I'd found everything and I wasn't going to find any more video games. I was just sure those games behind the register were it. But there turned out to be quite a nice little stack of games back here, actually. And some Disney Infinity and just lots of random stuff. But what I found out pretty quick was that almost everything here had $5 scribbled on it with a permanent marker. And there was tons of stuff that was here that I would have been glad to pay $1 or $2 for, but I was not in any mood to spend $5 on any of it. Here's something else that I found very interesting. This is the only thrift store I can ever remember going to that actually kept the discs behind the counter like a game store does. I went through these games one by one at first, just grabbing the ones I knew I was going to want to buy, and they were all empty. I was like, oh my God, did someone really steal all these games? But no, they were behind the counter. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through all these games, and I'm going to stack up the ones that I really, really want, and then I'm going to look at them really hard and decide, well, which ones do I really want to pay $5 for, and which ones are valuable, so I might as well pay $5 for them now rather than use a bunch of trade-in credit to spend $30 on them later. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So I'm going to go through these games twice and get the good stuff. And then I'm going to just hate myself for a while trying to decide which of these beautiful, beautiful games to leave behind. I stood there for about 40 minutes trying to decide which games to buy. And that's a bummer because I'm so close to home. I'm so close to my bed. I'm so close to pants. But I'm standing here looking at video games. But before we go, let's take a trip around the rest of this thrift store and see what else they have. Here's a bunch of jeans just piled up. That was interesting. Never seen that before. I don't know if I got them on camera, but there's a couple of giant bins setting around the store. Not unlike the bins you would see at a Goodwill bins, where if you want the stuff in them, you've got to dig. You got to dig to the bottom of the bins to find all the good stuff. This was definitely one of the more interesting stops on the entire trip that we took, but it's also the last one. I guess this is a good place to end it. So let's get back on the road. Let's talk about this store real quick, and then we'll go back home to my game room and we'll talk about everything that we got. All right, we've got to talk about that last stop. It's kind of unfortunate. I've already written off St. Vincent de Paul's for our kind of shopping. Just for some reason, every time we went to them in Phoenix, it hasn't went really well. But we just stopped at a different little mom and pop store on the way back to Phoenix, and there was a St. Vincent de Paul beside it. We're like, well, let's stop. Usually, the St. Vincent de Paul's that are outside of town will be a little bit different, because like in Phoenix, the St. Vincent de Paul barely even does DVDs and games at all. But as you saw, that one that's outside of town had plenty of them. But there was just one lady running the shop, and she priced all of them, and every single video game was $5, which was it was immediately off-putting, especially since there were signs everywhere that said the video games were $1. Then I grabbed them, and they all literally have permanent marker across the back, $5 each. That was a bit of a bummer, because I thought dollar games, I'm about to get some good stuff, and that's on top of the fact that there were a big stack of games behind the counter. That was the only stack I thought, and there was some stuff in there that I'd be glad to pay $1 for. There was not a game in that stack whatsoever I would have paid $5 for. But I'm not sure why she was needing to look them up, because there wasn't a game in the whole store that wasn't $5. And as you guys know that have watched the channel a bunch, you probably know I'm not at all into paying $5 for video games, unless it's something really awesome. So I scanned every game that was there to see what it was worth, and anything that was valued over $20 or so that I didn't have, I went ahead and bought it. So I bought like a $20, $25 Dragon Ball game and a couple other really random titles that I wasn't even familiar with. There were 20, and I think maybe I had a $40 game in there. But I spent a lot more on that stack of games than I normally do. And I didn't even really check the rest of the store, so how was the rest of the store?
Whew. That was a lot. They hung up all the shirts and the dresses and the jackets, but the jeans were like just folded up and thrown on a shelf haphazardly with all the pants. So it was just kids, men's, women's mixed together with like just linen pants as well. It was just I don't mind digging for things, don't get me wrong, like that's fine, but like having to pull it all off the shelf, fold it all back up and put it all back on the shelf, that's a lot.
Yeah, and then I did notice a couple giant boxes where they had clothes piled up, bin style. So that was different. And I'm not hating on the store. I understand they're 100 miles outside of the next biggest city, and they don't have the infrastructure that the other stores that are in a town with 20 more stores have. I get that. But it was just, that whole experience was stressful from the moment we walked in to the moment we walked out. And I'm still a little bit salty about how much we spent. But we did get good value. I'm not ultimately complaining. I just got like $100, $200 worth of games for $30. I'm not complaining. I'm gonna be glad to put those on my shelf. But it's not really often that we walk in a thrift store, we're just instantly like, this is stressful. That's kind of how that one felt. So there you go.
And there were just signs everywhere of like, don't do this, you can't do that, things are this way because of this.
I didn't even see that. There was a bunch of posted rules.
Oh yeah, so much.
I should have got a shot of those.
It was a lot.
Well, that really makes me believe that maybe that wasn't a normal St. Vincent de Paul, which if you think about it, the signs outside didn't look anything like every St. Vincent de Paul store does.
Yeah.
Right? Because it said St. Vincent de Paul on the outside.
It did, yeah.
Okay. Well, it must have been just a Catholic thrift store that decided to call itself that, and maybe it was called that specifically long before the main chain became national. I don't know. I have seen that before, so maybe that's what it was, because that did not operate or organize or do anything like the other hundreds of St. Vincent de Paul's I've been inside of.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it had to be, and I'm going to go ahead and chalk that one up to being a mom and pop, and not really a St. Vincent de Paul.
Okay, I'll allow it.
It's a faker. All right, guys, we are back, and I think that went really well. I've got a sizable enough stack of games. Hannah, it looks like you got a few good things. Let's go through your stuff first, and then we'll talk about my video games.
Got a pair of Rocky jeans. I love these jeans.
They are very nice. Have you ever wondered why your granddaddy and your grandmama pulled their breeches all the way up here? Well, it's because way back in the day, that's how they actually wore them. These are high-waisted jeans, and any and every pair of high-waisted jeans that we buy, we sell almost immediately, especially when they're nice and have nice seams like this one does.
And another 90s denim dress.
Oh, wow. That's a tall boy, too. That touches the floor.
It's got little embroidered flowers on it. I liked it.
Very nice.
I picked this up at the last second. We were checking out, and I was like, yep, I'll take it. It was like $1. Just a polyester 70s florally top.
It doesn't even look like florals on it. It looks like Rorschach tests.
Just amoebas. Oh, this is a set. I like finding sets.
Oh, wow, a matching set.
Yeah. Little shorts and tank top. I'm going to crop it so that it's more modern, I guess.
All right. Oh, you got something else.
These are my favorite. They're heavy.
Jesus. God, they're like 3 pounds each.
They're Doc Martens sandals. They are legit Doc Martens.
They are. They're really nice quality.
They are some 90s goodness.
How much do those go for?
These probably about $40-$50.
How much do they cost new?
Ooh, that's a good question because these are super
Older.
old. They're expensive.
Yeah, Doc Martens still are expensive. Very nice. They are very nice quality when you look at them close. But that's all the stuff you got, right? I got video games. And this stack of games is kind of a mixed bag. There's some good stuff in here for trade-in credit that I already have. There's some sealed stuff. I got my first sealed PlayStation 1 game. But honestly, I feel like most of the stuff I bought, not all of it, but most of it, I kind of overpaid for. But it was like the last stops before we got back to Phoenix. A couple of these thrift stores were right when we left Tennessee, and then the other ones were right before we got back home. And we drove all through the night, so maybe you can forgive me for overpaying on those last video games because we did not sleep much at all. But let's run through it all. Like I said, my first sealed PlayStation 1 game, Dirt Jockey, Heavy Equipment Operator. You know what this reminds me of? There's a series of farming simulators for the Switch. I thought that was weird, but apparently not, because there you can dig with your backhoe and get your simulating, tractor goodness on. Next up, an NES game, and I only paid $5 for it, despite it having a $12 sticker. That's all right. I don't mind paying $5 for NES games. They're not super easy to come by at the Thrift anymore. But Hogan's Alley. Let me know in the comments below if I should play this. I do have a CRT that is compatible with the light gun, so I can get my light gun on if I want to. Dragon Ball Z, Budokai, Tenkaichi. A lot going on there. It is complete. I love my Dragon Ball Z game, so I was happy to get that. Ape Escape 3 looks hilarious. I definitely want to play that just based off the cover. And then there's a few games here that I know nothing about that looked really interesting. This one almost looks like an arcade game. Guys, if you know anything about these games, comment below. Let me know about them. Let me know if I should play them. Hidden Invasion. Really interesting. And then Space Channel 5 Special Edition. What is going on with this game? It's got a really thick manual in it. This is just as heavy as could be. It's a 2-disc game. And this thing is in mint condition, which is why I paid $5 for both of these. Because besides being scribbled on with permanent marker, which I'm not a fan of, these are both in really great condition. And then another game that I'm very excited to buy, These have a really, really close spot to my heart. These are jam-packed demo discs. I'm trying to collect all of these as fast as I can because I want to do kind of a series here on the channel just about demo discs. Because if you don't know, sometimes you put a demo disc in your PlayStation for a game, and sometimes it's way before the game is released, and there's stuff on there that's different from the actual release, and it's just really fun to explore that stuff. So look forward to that in the future. Mountain Bike Adrenaline on PlayStation 2. SmackDown Raw 2006. You know who that is?
No.
You know who this guy is? Well, we know that's John Cena. Yeah, I had to make sure it's John Cena. But who's this? It's Dave Bautista.
Oh, okay. I was like, I recognize him, but no, I don't know.
Drax the Destroyer. This is ugly looking. I'm not sure why I bought it. It is not in great shape. Oh, we've been bamboozled. Look at this. I swear this wasn't like this before. The game has fused to the disc. Yeah, that's not coming back. Oh yeah, it's ripped. The game sticker is stuck on the... Alright, well, this is trash. I'm not sure why I bought that. I think it was that one store where I got all of them for like $1 and I just took everything they got. That was rough. Aggressive Inline. Skating game. And there's what is this? Please be cheat codes. I love it when there's cheat codes inside. They're cheat codes! Oh my god. One of my favorite things ever. To find video games at the thrift store with hand-scribbled cheat codes. Those weren't hand-scribbled, but that's still awesome. Backyard Football for the GameCube. Somebody's written their name on this one, but I'll be able to get it off. The only GameCube game I got today was half off, so I got that bad boy for $2. Very happy. Aqua, the addictive fast-action 3D puzzler. That looks hard. That actually looks like it'd probably be fun. And then here is a game that I just bought for the Xbox right before we left for this trip, but I found it on the PlayStation 2. And actually, this was pretty funny. The day that I found this, somebody in our Discord posted it in the Discord that they had found this as well. If you're interested in that kind of thing, we've got a lot of people that follow the channel here that are over in our Discord just chatting it up and posting pictures of their thrift finds. So if you're not getting enough thrift finds here on Tindo's channel, go to Tindo's Discord. We call it the Tin Dojo. Join the Tin Dojo. Talk more about thrifting. Talk more about video games. It's a good time. Next up, NFL Fever 2003 for the original Xbox. Another Goodwill buy. And then Ben 10, Protector of Earth for the Wii. I've already got this one, but it was another one. I think I paid $0.25 for this somewhere or something really cheap. It was one of those Goodwills that didn't mark the prices. It was like all DVDs or 50 cents or something. So I picked it up. And then I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 PSP UMD discs. These are all movies, even though I thought this one was a game when I saw it in the case. But it's not a game. It's the Final Fantasy movie, which I've never watched. I need to get around to watching it at some point. But yeah, Final Fantasy 7 PSP UMD, the Amityville Horror, Resident Evil, 28 Days Later, and then last, certainly not least, Alien vs. Predator for the PSP. I don't really intend to spend too much time watching movies on my PSP, though we did take it with us on this vacation, hoping to maybe catch one. We never did, but I'm very nostalgic for the PSP. I'm going to collect every one of these movies that I come across. Now, I got one more game. And I found a few copies of this game while I was on the road. And it's kind of funny because some of you will know NCAA Basketball 10. This is the last one of these made, so this copy goes for several dollars. So I got this for trade-in credit. If it sells for $40, $50, $60, I'll get about half that at my local game store. I've got this really sweet local game store that gives me about half of whatever they would sell it for. I love that place. And they'll definitely be wanting this. So I'll be trading this for something I really, really, really want. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me have you do something before you go. Let's comment below what your favorite thing that we bought today was. What was your favorite thing?
The Doc Marten.
The Doc Martens? Are you going to wear them yourself?
No.
Are they too big for you?
I don't know. I didn't even try them on.
I think my favorite thing would have to be these two weird games that I don't really know much about. Both of these I'll be putting in this week just to try them out and see if there's anything there that I really like. Let me know in the comments below what maybe your least favorite thing we got was. There's nothing terrible here, right? I mean, this all is okay. There's some sports games that are like, whatever. But I'm happy to have them all. All these games are going on the shelf. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please, like I asked earlier, go over to the Discord, join it, hang around for a little while, come back for a while whenever you feel like it. Whenever you buy something at the thrift store, come share it with us on the Discord. Also, go follow us on Twitch, guys. We're over there streaming random video games that we buy at the thrift. But we're also chatting about stuff, just like over the Discord. But it's more face-to-face. It's real time. You say, hey, Tindo, what's up? I say, hey, what's up? You say, hey, Tindo, what'd you buy at the thrift store today? And I tell you. But also, guys, here on YouTube, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button before you go. And hit that bell notification so that when we post videos like this in the future, you'll get a notification. And you can go thrifting with us then. You can hang out and play video games with us then. Until then, guys, peace out.